Mitch Robinson, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
On your computer, where are you sitting right now? Like, is this your shop? This is where you make a lot of videos in this room. I know that.
Yeah.
Is it like, I mean, I can't see anywhere else. Do you actually work on your own stuff there? You bringing in your friends' stuff, working on other people's stuff? Or is it just your Fit4moto, iRide supplements? Like what goes on in that shop behind you?
Yeah, pretty much. This is my kind of my Fit4moto space. So all my biking stuff, obviously, like I've got it set up for videos and whatnot too. But it's just kind of my garage that I built into kind of a cool space. And so on the other parts of the garage, I've got bikes lined up and I work on the bikes and stuff. And every once in a while, I'll take on some kind of charity case with somebody's broken bike and spin wrenches on it for a little bit. But yeah, I've got space to work on what I need to work on and do the maintenance so I can get back out riding and stuff. Yeah.
Dude, that's nice. You're what do they call it? The man cave, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And that's one of the great parts is I can come out here, I can turn on a podcast and just spin wrenches for a few hours on my bikes. And it's a nice space for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Crazy how podcasts are now really taking over. And before we would be listening to music. Granted, I was born in the 90s. I'm young-ish. 90s was good music, 80s was good music, early 2000s was pretty good music, and now everything else just terrible. Just can't stand it.
You are preaching to the choir, man. It all sounds the same to me now. It all sounds the same to me. Like I ride with music in all the time, which people find interesting, but I always got music playing while I ride. I just find it helps calm me down and kind of gets me into a groove and a flow. And so I've got these super old iPods, man. Like I bought them, I don't know, 10, 15 years or more ago. And they've got playlists from a long time ago. And I still chuck it on play. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good tune. We're going to roll with that one. I don't know. I'm the same way. I like the older stuff.
Yeah. Right. Dude, that's funny. You bringing back old iPods, like shuffles and all that good stuff. Back in high school when those were becoming popular, you were the cool kid if you had one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, that's crazy. Memory lane. So let's break down those two main companies that we mentioned. Let's talk about Fit4moto. What is Fit4moto?
Fit4moto really, it really just started out as a hobby more than anything. I love motocross and I've been doing it for most of my life. And really it kind of began because not a day would go by where somebody wouldn't approach me at the track and they'd say, how are you doing this corner? Or I noticed you got this on your bike or whatever. And they would have questions for me. And so it all just began from that. And I thought, well, if these people have questions, then why can't I maybe do a couple videos and answer some questions for a whole bunch of people? And I like doing video. I like editing video. I like being in front of the camera. So it was really kind of a natural progression that way. And then it sort of transformed into the other love that I have aside from motocross, which is fitness. And I have a pretty extensive knowledge base in that as well. So I thought, well, I might as well include some of that too. Hence the Fit4moto part. So really, yeah, I mean, and then that grew into people wanting lessons and motocross schools. And it really just kind of started to grow legs of its own and take off from there, which was unexpected, but I'm super fortunate to be able to do it. Yeah.
Dude, I'm going to share my screen real quick, and eventually this will come on or be a live, not a live, but a video. So just looking at this, look at these arms.
Yeah.
These are huge.
So I've worn a lot of different hats in my life, and one of them being I competed in fitness stuff for a number of years, and so a lot of people are like, well, how do you do that and do motocross? And my answer has kind of become, I kind of came off the assembly line this way. I take fitness extremely seriously, and most of my days revolve around the two businesses and fitness. I'm very regimented with my diet and with my workouts and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, on some level, I kind of came off the assembly line like this, and it's like people that have big calves, right? It's like, I don't train calves specifically. They just genetically, you might have big calves and you might have little calves. So yeah, a lot of people have the exact same comment though. Yeah. It's interesting, especially in the motocross, mountain biking world, it's just not normal. So,
That's what I was wondering. I've seen a couple guys out there on Instagram that are relatively large. Let's talk about, I don't think you're really familiar with snowmobiling. You may be.
A little bit, not all that much though.
Okay. So one guy, a lot of people on the pod or listening to the podcast will know Caleb Kasturki. He's built, and I had somebody on the podcast. He had mentioned he's built like an ox. He's really strong, and he has videos of him lifting weights and stuff. And he's just a thick guy. You're a lot bigger than he is, but it's interesting because I always had the thought, like I think a lot of people do, you have to have a body like Cody Webb or Max Gerson or something like that to compete and to actually excel and stuff like that, or even Keith Curtis. And so I'm wondering, with this natural body, this natural size of yours, I'm sure you get those questions like, how does that work with you're going to be carrying extra mass? You're not, I mean, I don't know how tall you are, but I'm going to assume you're over 200 pounds.
I'm actually fairly short. I'm only 5'7".
Okay. So you might be 195.
Yeah. So typically my weight will fluctuate a little bit depending on where I let my body fat get to, but I stay pretty lean. So my typical weight right now is about 185.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So with the fact that maybe because you are a little bit on like your height, you're a little bit shorter, you can leverage that for racing, right? Because you go watch Carmichael. Carmichael's like this little tiny dude, right? 5'6" or something like that. And the guy can ride and just super, super fast. And you get a guy, like I said, Cody Webb, that's 6'2", 6'3". I think he might be 6'3". I haven't met him yet, but I had him on the podcast, and he's just a big, tall, lanky guy. You have Rich Larson, another tall guy, 6'1", 6'2". Anyways, it's very interesting to see the different sizes. Oh, Tyler, he's like 6'1", so too.
Yeah,
right?
totally. So, he's tall too. Yeah.
So the sizes are interesting to see. Where in motocross you can be, or a lot of people seem to be shorter, which gives them an advantage. Not all. I mean, you can work with that, right? And then enduro, a lot of people seem to be taller. Not really sure why. Haven't really gotten into those, analyze that really well. But being the size you are, the fact that if you would have dropped all that muscle weight, you might be 40 pounds less or 50 pounds smaller. How is it that how does that actually work with your results in racing? Or has this been more of a more recent thing that you've been a little bit bigger?
No, I've always been pretty stocky my whole life. Even as a little kid, I was always somewhat of a stocky little dude. So my body genetically likes to put on muscle.
Like of course,
yeah, totally. The opposite to that though is that for me to I'm never going to be a string bean type guy. I'm just not built that way. But so for me to increase my aerobic capacity, I really, really have to force that issue. So, I'll run 5 to 10 kilometers a day, and my body just does not want to drop weight very easily. So for me, I can put on strength and put on muscle easy, but I really have to fight it to get into that cardiovascular shape. And that's just the way I was built. So as far as riding and stuff goes, I think there's some misconceptions out there. I think that people, they immediately think, well, if you have a certain amount of muscle and stuff, that's gonna, you're gonna be burning more gas, so to speak, in terms of your lungs and stuff, and your cardiovascular capacity. On some level, that might be true, but I think what people are probably pulling that from is like these huge bodybuilder freak of nature type guys, right? Where it's like, okay, well, that's not even reasonable. Absolutely, those guys will get winded pretty quick. But, if you're looking at more like, say, the CrossFit athletes, some of those dudes are fairly big too. And those guys have a lot of gas in the tank. So I think there's maybe just kind of deconstructing some of that misconception about you have to be a string bean in order to have some cardio. That's not totally true. For me, it's just something I have to work on a little more. And so, just even literally last night, I was out at the track. I did a 45-minute moto. I wasn't tired yet. I came in, filled my tank with gas, went out and did another 30 minutes, and then I got a flat tire. So I pulled off. And that's with my heart rate above 80% the entire time. So it's not that you can't build that capacity. It's just something that you have to be conscious of and work on, but the options are definitely there to get it for sure.
Well, that's cool. I think that's getting a little heartwarming for some people that want to expand or have like a bigger body. Maybe it kind of ties into the type of athletics, the type of workouts that you're doing, right? And I know you can talk about that probably for a while. Just doing this style will help with the longevity in this type of riding, and, you know, so on and so forth. So that makes sense. And you got to work really hard to get where you want to go, right? There's a lot of athletes that push for that. You just got to work. Is that kind of how the supplements also kind of tied in with it? As you were, you know, fit4moto, you were like, hey, let's open up this supplement side and see, like, provide more supplements to the action sports industry, or the motocross, the dirt bikers, stuff like that. How did that come about?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really kind of the gist of it. But really what happened was I did the fit4moto thing. And like I say, I was super involved in fitness. And the fit4moto thing was, like I said, more of a hobby, and a hobby, and it just kind of happened to work. But with the iRide stuff, because of my previous experience, like I competed at the top levels in the world for years. So I was pretty involved within the supplement industry, and I learned lots, and I worked with lots of big companies. So I had a pretty good knowledge base to draw from. And so I was literally just sitting there and I thought, well, I'm going to combine motocross and I'm going to combine fitness into a little niche that I think needs to be solved. And then it's really combining the things that I absolutely love. And that's really where iRide came about. One of the challenges is, particularly with the motocross community, because we've branched out into mountain biking and stuff too. And that's kind of its own demographic, but mountain bikers by and large understand hows and whys of supplements and what they can do, why they work, all that kind of stuff. Whereas the moto community, it's still somewhat, there's a lot of questions with it. And I totally understand why that is. And it's somewhat new to that demographic. But even within that, once you start to answer some of those questions, or people just try it, they're like, okay, I get it now. I see why it helps. So a big part for me was, I have this knowledge base. I'm going to bring in this product, this brand, and kind of educate some people on it. And then I'm going to show you exactly how can I be short and stocky and kind of go against the typical motocross build. How can I go against that and still pound out these ridiculous motos? Well, part of that is because of things like supplements, where there's certain things out there that science has just proven to help you with endurance and whatnot.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting. I mean, Rhino Power, right? Rhino Power has been pretty big. Quite a decade, close to a decade.
Yeah, they're about 10 years.
Yeah. I've seen a couple others starting to trickle in. Not really sure, nor do I know if like they know what to expect or where they want to go with it. But Rhino Power has been around for quite a while. Knowing that having a big company like that, you're going to be coming in and competing with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel that you're going to have an advantage? Like, what is your advantage, your intrinsic advantage against Rhino Power?
So that's a fantastic question. So right out of the gate, knowing what I know about fitness and about the supplement industry and that kind of thing and products, Rhino Power, and it's nothing against them, but Rhino Power leaves a lot on their table. When you look into their products, if you really know what you're looking for, there's a lot of stuff that they don't do right. And so that was one of the things that I found as a rider, right? I'm like, okay, well, what do they have for products? And then you'd start looking into it and you're like, well, that's not the greatest thing for an athlete to have. Maybe for some people, but there's going to be this big group of people that's not going to apply to, and vice versa. So for us, just with my knowledge base and seeing what they have to offer, the thing with Rhino Power is they've been around within that industry for that long because there's been no competition. Like there's a couple, like I said, there's a couple other brands in there, but realistically they were the only horse in town. So people didn't know any different. So what's interesting is that when I go out to events, to races and stuff like that, and people say, hey, I've got Rhino Power. And I say 100%, that's fantastic. If you like that, that's wicked. Here's a couple of our samples. Let me know what you think. And then inevitably they will switch over. And especially when I can explain to them the hows and the whys of what's in our product, and I'm very transparent about everything, then they go, oh, I get it. And I can say, this is why we have this. This is why we have this. This isn't so good. And here's why. It's just because there's been no other game in town. And they've left a lot on the table as far as I'm concerned. And again, it's nothing against them. It's just business is business, right? And so I think with my knowledge base and with my interest in the sport that way, I'm able to combine them into something that gives me a little bit of an edge.
Right. So you branch into all action sports, right? But we're going to say that of good focus is moto, mountain biking. Like those are probably your biggest that you focus on because those are so familiar with you, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And one of the reasons I even started iRide to begin with was I want to do something that I truly enjoy doing. Right. Mm-hmm. I've been through university. I have an education. I didn't need the money. Yeah. So I've wore a lot of different hats in my life. I've been a professional speaker. I've done seminars. I've done traveling around to do guest appearances, all that stuff. So money was not the thing for me. It had nothing to do with money. It was purely, I want to combine the things that I love and do a path that I truly want to do. And it's not whatsoever work to me. So that being said, obviously the moto and the mountain biking side, that stuff come really easy to me. And I can field questions all day long and I really, really enjoy it. I can make content and I love every minute of it. It's never a job to me whatsoever. So that's why those ones are kind of it's low hanging fruit for me because it's what I really enjoy doing.
Dude, I love hearing that. I mean, let's see, there was a quote that I heard the other day in a book. He said that Mother Teresa, somebody brought up a question. It was like, to Mother Teresa, they asked her, why are you helping these people? She says, because I love to. This is something that I thoroughly enjoy, is actually taking care of other people. And then they posed, well, do you make any money doing this? She's like, well, no, of course not. I'm paraphrasing the whole conversation, but sure. She made the comment that you couldn't pay me $1 million to do this work. Like there is no amount of money that I could bring in or I could make that would give me the joy that I get from doing what I'm doing right now. And that kind of made me think about back to, well, what am I doing with the Action Sports podcast? Would I do this for free? Heck yeah, I would, because I've done it for free.
Mm-hmm.
Making this a hobby, turning this more into an actual career, has been so fulfilling. Though the money aspect of actually that comes from your passion, like you'd still do it for free. You still love it so much. Yeah. So why not? And I feel like we can transition that into writing, right? We love writing so much that we do it. We pour in our heart and soul into it. And a lot of people from the outside say, well, why would you do that if it costs you so much money? If it costs you everything, why would you keep doing that? And I love action sports athletes because they say, because there's nothing else. There's nothing else that brings me the joy like this does. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel that from you, right? Where you're bringing iRide, your career from where you were at to where you are today. Like, though the money aspect, it's a grind to get a company off the floor, right? You know that?
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
But you wouldn't trade it. You love it.
No, absolutely. And not only would I not trade it, oddly, I really enjoy the grind. The same way I think I enjoy the grind in fitness. Like I love putting myself through a super long moto, and I love coming off the track and being like, I am completely done. In a weird way, I really enjoy the daily struggle of trying to make things happen. I love it. Like I love setting a goal and going after it and not knowing if it's going to work or not. I thrive on that. I always have. That's why I've done so many different things in my life. And I couldn't agree more. Like we do it for the love of it. Just yesterday, I was at the track and I was filming some content for Fit4moto, and a couple of guys came up to me and I had the camera in my hands with the mic and stuff on it. And I'm like, oh, things are getting real. I'm about to do a video, kind of chuckling. And they're like, oh, you're going to do one right now. That's so cool. And I'm like,
getting all excited.
So we got talking. And one of the things that they said was, we can really tell within your videos and your content that you truly enjoy doing it, and then it's not work for you. And that's 100% true. I could not make a penny from it, and I will still pump out videos because I love getting the messages from people that are like, hey man, you know, I'm new to riding and I watched your video and this taught me this or whatever. To me, I do it because I love it. Money has nothing to do with it.
Right. Well, that's cool, dude. I want to dig in a little bit into iRide. And so I'm looking at your website and just kind of digging into your products. I've been very interested in sport or athletics, and I've even had an individual on the podcast that's a personal trainer. And there's a lot of products out there that can help with, like you said, the supplements that we might not normally get out of just our daily intake, our regular food, that we can supplement with a product that is tested to enhance certain levels, like hormones and level. We can level them, drop them, raise them, whichever you need. What do you feel has been probably one of the best products for somebody that's wanting to go into an endurance ride, like ride a lot longer?
So as far as endurance goes, the two big ones are Rocket Fuel, which has got a bunch of
Rocket Fuel.
Yeah, totally. I love the name. So that's a big one. It's got things in it that are straight up built for endurance. If you let me go down the rabbit hole, I'll talk about nutrition.
We have some minutes. Let's do it.
I love talking about nutrition. It's really kind of my jam. I'm a big nerd on it. So
you got the muscles to prove, my friend, and the mustache.
Yeah, exactly. So, so within the Rocket Fuel, there's lots of stuff in there that is built to give you endurance. And then the new product that we have out, the Hydro Fuel, which is an electrolyte mix with a bunch of other things in it that are going to help buffer lactic acid and help re-energize the cell during the workout or ride or whatever, or after as well, and kind of get you set up for, say, you're going to do another one the next day, or, you're going out for Moto 2 kind of thing. So all of our products are built around that. And that's one of the great parts too, is that just being a rider myself, and riding at the pro level, I know what it's like and I know what a rider needs. So I can say, this is going to help. This isn't going to help. I need it to last this long. I need it to do this, that, or the other thing. So a lot of the products like the Rocket Fuel and the Hydro Fuel, those are the big ones for endurance. Just knowing from a physiological standpoint what the human body needs as far as energy goes, because quite often what happens is people think they know what the human body needs, but they don't really understand the process of what happens when you're going through an endurance type event. They don't understand the Krebs cycle and what happens with your body's going to convert this to energy and this to energy. But your brain needs this energy while your muscles need this energy. And I could go way down a rabbit hole, but so those are our two big ones for endurance.
That's interesting. So will you then create, like, if somebody reaches out to you, will you then kind of create like you had packages in there on your website. Will you create like a custom package for individuals if they give you the exact like formula, or not necessarily, the formula to what they need to do to succeed? Will you create a custom package like that for them?
We can, in terms of like, I need a pack of this, pack of this, pack of this, you mean, or like a whole new formula of a product?
No. The pack. I need this and this and this.
Yeah. By all means. Yeah. People can hit us up and we'll get them exactly what they need. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So our Hydro Fuel, we have a ton of products that are in the process right now of being manufactured and undergoing all the ridiculous testing that has to be done to get to the level that we do. So we've got some new stuff coming out yet again in a couple months, which is really awesome. But the Hydro Fuel in particular, that was born from Tristan Hart. Tristan Hart uses our protein, and he's like, hey, I need something that's going to give me some endurance to last, the 4-hour races and stuff like that. And so that's really where I just kind of hit the ground running. I knew I wanted an electrolyte type mix, but I also knew, okay, there's going to be some things in there that I want to add that are going to help give him some endurance to last those. So that one, just from talking with riders, that's really what kind of lit the fire quicker on that one, was knowing this is what they needed.
Okay. How interesting. Yeah. I think that's to the point of like the business where we give you the feedback as athletes and as riders, enthusiasts. As you can give the feedback to the manufacturer, then they're going to be able to produce a product, create a product brand new, or refine something that's already in the work or already out there to really make it that much better. Without that kind of feedback, you're just going to keep pumping out products that might not work, right? Yeah. And then just leave a sour taste in somebody's mouth.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And yeah, I couldn't agree more. And so again, coming from my side of being a rider, knowing kind of what works, what doesn't work, combine that with my fitness background, but then also talking to other riders and saying, hey, what do you think of this? Right? What would you like what effect are you looking for?
Right.
So if they say, well, I'm looking for endurance. Okay, well, I know I have this file system in my head of, I know that this, and this will work for endurance. So let's start with that. Then let's look at adding in other things that need to be replenished along the way, et cetera, et cetera.
That's cool. That's cool to have that breakdown. And I mean, just a little bit, because I know we could go into a whole podcast about this kind of stuff, which we very may well have a podcast about that, about the nutrition, about the, like, everything that we need to know and understand about the body and how we can fuel it the right way. But one question though, that kind of popped in my head before we transition, with the supplements that you just described, like the fueling supplements, rocket fuel, what would be maybe a natural, like a fruit, vegetable, meat, carb, what could you actually take that would be like that without having to take that supplement? Do you understand what I'm saying? Asking?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So that's one of the things. So all of the supplements, you can take, say creatine, which is in our rocket fuel. That has a crazy amount of misconceptions attached to it.
Sure.
I've even heard creatine being called a steroid before, but the simple fact, when I was a kid,
that's what it was.
Right? Yeah. Yep. So the simple fact is, every time you eat red meat, you're taking in creatine. If you have a steak, if you have a hamburger, any red meat has creatine in it.
When your body creates it, doesn't it? Doesn't it naturally create creatine a little bit?
Yeah. So your body, so what creatine actually does in your body is creatine will break down inside once it gets digested to form something called adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. ATP is your mitochondria's fuel energy. So for you to move and to move your skeleton around to do anything, your body needs ATP. So the mitochondria can use that and fuel what you're doing. Right. So creatine, when it breaks down to form more of that, it stands to reason then that the mitochondria inside the cell, they have more energy, right? And that's literally all creatine does. And there's like 250 studies to prove that it does that. But there's these misconceptions about it. So, so if you want to get, say, creatine, well, you can eat some red meat. Personally, when it comes to endurance-y type, like, the thing is do you watch The Office at all? Have you ever seen The Office?
Yes, I loved it. I used to watch it all the seasons every year.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So I've seen like top to bottom at least 4 or 5 times. I love that show.
Yep.
So, in the one episode where Michael's carbo loading with some pasta for his run.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So here's the thing is that they're 100% on the money with that. It doesn't work that way. Your body needs time to get all that delivered into the system before it can effectively use that as a fuel source, right? So if we're talking during your workout, during your ride, whatever that is, you need something that's going to digest a whole lot faster and the cells can grab onto really quickly and start delivering that as a fuel source. Really? So for me, yeah, totally. So for me, let's say, so I've got a race coming up this April. I think it's like a 2 or 3 hour race. I got convinced to do it and I'm super excited about it. But, so for me, I know that a couple of days beforehand, I'm going to start loading up a little bit so that my body has all these energy stores to pull from for that event, knowing that if I try something the day of, it just doesn't work like that. Your body can't effectively digest everything and get it into the bloodstream fast enough to be really efficient with it. So for me, I like having oatmeal, and I'll have like a half an apple in the oatmeal. So there's the natural sugars in the apple. There's the complex carbohydrates in the oatmeal. And without going too deep into that, because they're complex, the chains that hold those carbohydrates together, they take a lot longer to break down, and your body has a longer time breaking them down. That also means that it can more effectively take that energy in that carbohydrate, pack it into the tissue where it needs to go, so that you're full of energy and you're ready to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So depending on what source it is that you're looking for. Like if you want creatine, there's red meat. If you want some natural sugars, like fruit is a great thing. I eat a ton of fruit. I really, really love it. So depending on what it is that you're looking for, there's tons of great sources to get what you need. Hence supplementation, right? It's easy if you're like, oh, I can't eat 6 steaks so I'm going to take a shot of rocket fuel, right? You're going to get the same things you want out of there, aside from the protein or whatever. But in terms of energy, you're going to get the same things that you need from that. So.
Got it. Okay. That was a good explanation. That's kind of what I was looking for, to break that down a little bit so we can process the reasons why we take a little bit of supplements, but we have more of like a natural or a produce style fuel, and how those produce style fuels are compared to the supplements. So the supplements are not to, I think we need to make that clear as well. The supplement is not to replace the actual foods.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a huge proponent on, if you can eat solid foods, 100% do that. That's the way to go. The bottom line is to get the amount in your system that's going to give you what you're looking for, you'd have to eat a ridiculous amount of food. Your food bill is going to be stupid high, and your stomach's going to be really upset because you've got so much in there. Right. And we lead busy lives, right? That's just not the reality of what most people can do. So take protein, for example. Do you have time to go and I don't know, barbecue or bake or whatever, 6 chicken breasts every couple hours? Probably not, right? So it's easier just to throw down a shake, and you're getting the same amino acid profile in that protein shake that you would be getting from the whole food. 100%. It should never completely replace eating proper foods, 100%, but also understanding that there is a role in it, because we have families, we have jobs, we have other commitments that we have to get to, and it doesn't always line up perfectly. So there's a solution for that, so that you're not left running out of energy when you want to do the things that really make your heart beat.
Yeah, absolutely. I already know we're going to have another podcast here in the future, because
I'd love to. Yeah. You're getting me going.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was like, I got so many more questions. I'm like, well, we need to transition into more of why. Well, there's a lot of reasons why I had you on the podcast, but more along the lines of what you do to actually make your name more known now, right? So before we started recording, we talked about the fact that you make these products and you have these wonderful products out there. And then during the podcast, talked about the comparison to you and Rhino Power, or how Rhino Power is so big and it's kind of an untapped market. Now you're coming in and taking up a share of the market. About marketing, how do you go about working with athletes and enthusiasts to actually get your products out in front of people?
So that's been a really, really steep learning curve for me personally. So I have the motocross and the fitness and those things come together, and that's all great and wonderful, but I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't go to university for business. I went for engineering. Completely different, right? So it's been a really, really steep learning curve for me. And a huge part of that for me, of that learning curve, was learning to work with athletes. How do I put this nicely? I got burned a lot by athletes, because I'm a very trusting person by nature. And sometimes I wish I wasn't, but I am. So people will say, hey, let's work together. Let's do this, that, or the other thing. And I'm like, that sounds amazing. Right. And then I end up getting burned because they don't hold up their end of the bargain. So learning to work with athletes and marketing for me has been a huge challenge. I found some things that work, and I found literally through failing at it, I found some ways not to do things as well. Or I've learned maybe some check marks I need to get from people long before I look at working with them. And again, learned it the hard way for sure.
So why do you think some of these guys didn't hold up on their end? Like, what do you think the holdup is?
You'd be, well, maybe you wouldn't be, maybe you get this as well, but I literally get dozens of DMs a day, dozens of people that just want free products. That's it.
Okay.
That's all they want.
Yep. So we teach people that sponsorship is not charity.
Yeah. Oh,
man. We put that out there. We say sponsorship is not charity.
I love that. I wish everyone knew that, because, it's not that I don't want to help out riders and stuff, obviously, but it is still a business, right? There needs to be some sort of reciprocation, some sort of return on something. Right. Initially there was a lot of me giving product away for free in our first year to riders. And I would give them a lot of stuff, and they wouldn't do a single post about it. They wouldn't do anything. No one would ever know that they had any of our product, but they'd be like, oh yeah, this stuff's really wicked. Can I get some more? Like, well, I'd love to give you some more, but you literally haven't done anything about it or for it or anything, right? So how does that make any sense whatsoever? So knowing what I know now, there's definitely some things I should have background checked a little more. But I think honestly, I try to always see the best in people, but that's one big culture shock that I found with owning this brand and this supplement company is people want free stuff. And if they think that they can just hit you up and get it, they're going to.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's interesting where you'll get DMs and saying a variety of companies will get this. Hey, I'm really good on a bike. You should sponsor me. Mm-hmm. Like, well, nothing. Like, oh, okay. So what are you going to do for me? And then it drops off from there. Like no replies.
Absolutely. And not even just like on a motorcycle or a bicycle, like car guys, like guys that are so far outside of any sort of demographic, which isn't to say that that's a bad thing. Maybe we can branch out into that. Sure. But you better approach it with some sort of game plan, right? Like I would never go to a company. I would never go to, I don't know, a gardening company and be like, hey, I work in dirt too. Can you give me some free stuff? Right? It just doesn't work that way. I might be like, hey, I noticed you guys, there's a gardening company. And I know that a lot of the facilities I go to, they have a need for some landscaping. I don't know, whatever. That's just off the top of my head.
Absolutely. That's a good way.
But you got to have some kind of game plan approaching them, not just, hey, I like cars and I have 100 followers. Can I have free stuff? Like, what do you think the response is going to be, right?
So let's put a number on that if we can. Out of a year, how many people approach you with a game plan like that, looking for a sponsor?
Legitimately, maybe a dozen, maybe, if that.
And not all those guys will get sponsored, will they?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Because a lot of them, again, I think maybe, I don't know if it's a newer generation or what, but a lot of them, they want free stuff. So they may be a legitimate racer. They may have a decent social following and all that kind of stuff. And that's fantastic. And I'm not saying no to giving free product, but also what are you going to do in return? Right. And it seems like as soon as you start asking for things in return, the conversation just stops. So it's more like, I swear they want to, hey, I'm so-and-so, can I get free product? Absolutely. Where can I ship it to? That's what they're looking for. Right. So I love that saying, sponsorship is not charity. I love that. I'm going to start using that if that's okay, because I think that's the perfect way to put it. It has to be this back and forth, right?
Now that you have communication with us as the Action Sports Club, and more specifically Tyler, on how Tyler's been coming to you and looking for some relationship building, how have you felt that the way that Tyler Wendlandt has actually done that with you? Like, what is your perspective on the way he's approached it versus other people?
Oh, it's 1,000,000% better, dude. Honestly, like, just the way that he explained it to me right off the bat, which, the simplest way of saying it is we need to provide value to the brand or whatever, right? Again, I wish everybody knew that. I think it's absolutely fantastic what he's doing. Just he's on his game about everything. And if more athletes did that, oh man, I'd be so much more willing to sponsor people. It's outstanding. Honestly, it is.
That's cool. Tyler's a neat individual for sure. And we talked about that off camera. He's neat in the way he strategizes his goals and what he wants to achieve. The dude works really hard, wakes up super early to get to the gym and just hustles all day long, making this passion of his. And he wants it to be a full-time career. He just loves it so much, and he deserves it. But the cool thing about Tyler is that he's very calculated in all this as well. So coming to iRide Supplements and wanting to build a relationship with you and see how he can benefit you and you can benefit him, which is what we teach at the Action Sports Club. it just shows you the possibilities of individuals out there, like the capabilities of sponsored individuals. Like it's important for people to know this. And these are the critical things that we teach inside of the Action Sports Club. We teach this stuff. Say, this is how you go about landing sponsorships and taking your passion, turning it into a career.
Yeah,
you can
I think
do this.
Absolutely you can. Now that knowing what you do, it's honestly shocking to me that no one has done this before. Like it almost seems like completely common sense to me that you guys exist, right?
Right.
Because it's like, once you explain it, you're like, oh my God, how has no one done this? Because it's just like, I can remember even being a younger rider growing up racing, whatever, and being sponsored. Like, I wish I knew that back then.
Mm-hmm.
I would have done better, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know what you don't know. I can't say enough good things about it. I think it's a fantastic way. I think that all athletes, I wish there was like some sort of like, if you really want to progress and get sponsors and all that sort of thing, then you need to do this online course or something to get involved with you guys and learn what some expectations are and learn what some boundaries are and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just speaking from a brand side, and I suppose I kind of have a unique view because I'm a sponsored rider myself by other companies, and then I have this brand where I'm sponsoring riders. So right. I get to kind of see both sides of it. So I think it's amazing. I'm going to direct as many people as I can towards you.
Wow. Well, we really do appreciate that. We really do. It's been incredible to see this, to see where we're going, but we're really excited to see what you're doing, Mitch, and with iRide and with your company and your passion for the sport. And so we want more people to be educated so that they can come to you ready to take your business to the next level. Because as you know, sponsorships and marketing are the same thing, right? It's so important if companies want to expand and grow and become $1 million companies, 7-figure, 8-figure companies, not because they want to line their pockets per se, but because they see a need in the market and they can fill that need. I mean, it's almost comical to me to see more apparel companies pop up. It's like, it's a new one every day.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, they're cool. They have new fresh graphics or fresh looks and stuff like that. That's awesome. But they're not, a lot of them have disappeared. Will come, stay around for a little bit, and then disappear. No Fear was, I don't think No Fear was one of them, because I thought No Fear was a really big company, and they were, right? No Fear was everywhere.
Yeah, it was huge.
Everywhere. But now it's gone. We have no idea what happened to it.
Yeah.
Same era though. Fox stayed around. Shift stayed around. O'Neill is still going.
MSR
is still going. Yeah. All these Answer. Some of these companies that you thought would have disappeared as well. But No Fear, like, just kind of. I mean, there's probably a good story behind what happened, but
yeah. I mean, I thought they had really cool stuff. I don't know whatever happened to them, but yeah,
everybody did. So to have people learn how to actually come to you, approach you, and make this a possibility, or make these relationships, is so important. I want to hear a little bit more as we wrap up, or just out of respect to your time, Mitch. I'd like to hear your perspective of like, as an athlete, where what you did to give back to the companies, or how you give back to the companies today that work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really, really lucky. Again, just with the Fit4moto thing, I wasn't looking for sponsors. But that being said, there were some companies that I really liked their stuff. I really believed in what they had to offer. So one of those being Risk Racing. And I've been really, really fortunate to have a great relationship with them. But I also understand that they're a business too, right? So for me, doing content about some of their products, which I fully believe in, and I really do think that it's great stuff, trying to give back as much as I can, because, so let's say I get a discount on their products, which is awesome, and I get that product in return. To me, having somebody just ask about it, maybe they do, maybe they don't, isn't quite giving back to me, because I'm truly appreciative of any support, any sponsors or anything like that I get. I don't expect anything whatsoever. So I want to go over and above, and I try and over deliver on everything. So with Risk, I try and pump out videos about some of their products. And I'm fortunate that I enjoy doing that. But at the same time, they're getting some video content for some stuff too. So the biggest thing is I try and over deliver with anyone who's, is gracious enough to support me in any way.
No, that's cool. Yeah. I love individuals that I've had on the podcast that have the same mindset as you. I've been just so thrilled listening to them and having fun talking to them. There's been a lot on the podcast that understand this. And it's interesting because not all of them have really large followings on social media, but they just understand it. One of the neat things I've learned as we're going through this is, let's say, and we'll use your company as an example. For anybody out there that wants to become sponsored by iRide, I believe the very first thing you should do is buy their product, buy Mitch's product. So you can actually bring the product home, use it, and see if it works. Because I haven't used your protein powder. My wife, when she takes like a commercial protein powder when we're working out, it really upsets her stomach. Like just the enzymes and stuff don't like what's in there. We've used another one called Black Label out of Idaho, and it worked really well. It's a little bit on the pricier side, and it worked really well where our bodies were able to break it down properly, and then we didn't have that gut wrenching feeling anymore. So the point I'm making is if I'm going to search out a company that I want to be sponsored by, I want to use their product prior to even asking for a sponsorship. I want to say, hey, I've been using this for maybe a few months, a few years, testing it to see if this is something good. Because you might try iRide, not saying that this is the truth. You might try his product and it might not work for you, which is Mitch is going to say, that's fantastic. I need to know that. So now I can make a product for you in the future, right? Because there's going to be enough people that need that. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And you couldn't be more right. A lot of the riders, and this is one spot where Tyler has excelled exceptionally well, is Tyler got some of our stuff. And I said, hey, Tyler, I remember how kind you were to me when I bought that bike. You didn't know who I was or anything, right? You didn't know anything about me, but you were just a super nice person. I want to be able to give back to you because I thought you were just a fantastic human being. So can I give you some iRide stuff? And Tyler, you said, no, I want to buy it. I want to buy it from you. And then we can talk about that later or whatever, right? If you still feel like that. But that's fantastic because honestly, 95% of people that reach out to us, they will never buy anything.
Right.
They strictly want to get it for free. So you couldn't be more right with that. Like if you want to become sponsored by iRide, you can try it and then exactly see if it works for you. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Either way, 100%, I'd like the feedback, but yeah, absolutely. That's such a good point to make is that they need to try stuff, particularly with supplements too. Like, it's not like I'm getting, a set of handguards or a grip or something where it's like, it's a grip. It might not last as long as some of the other ones, but it's a grip, but it'll work. Supplements can be somewhat of a personal thing, exactly like your experience that you just mentioned. So with that, yeah, that's such a good point.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you see that, and that people are hearing from your perspective as a business owner, like that's what you look for as well. Like, this podcast has been really fun, Mitch, because we've learned a lot about your perspective of like why we need to fuel our bodies and how we can fuel them, why you have transitioned from being a racer into the two passions, and really getting into the sponsorships and understanding what you're looking for, how things should be working. And if you want to take your passion, turn into a career, like these are how you approach these companies like yourself, and then make sure you take these steps so that you are sponsorable. You know, it's key to do that. So this has been a lot of fun, Mitch, and I appreciate your time. But like I said, out of respect to your time, I think we'll end up recording a second one, and I'd like to get a little bit deeper into supplements and into that kind of world, so we can really or maybe have like a good, solid understanding, solid base, where we can build off of.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super, super happy that you invited me on. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And absolutely, I'm more than willing to talk about, we can even stray away from the supplement side of things and just talk about nutrition as a rider.
Yes,
like what
exactly.
kind of, exactly. What are some base ideas to keep in mind? It's totally my jam. I've even written books on it. So you'll get me going down. Yeah. You've getting me going down a rabbit hole that, if you let me go, I'll go. So absolutely sign me up.
Love it.
I'd be happy to do it.
I love it. I think we could do that for sure. All right. So to that point, let's have you drop your handle where people can find you.
Sure. So on Instagram, it's at fit4moto, which is FIT, the number 4, and then moto. That's my fit4moto brand where I do the MX schools and the reviews and all that kind of stuff. And then
we didn't even talk about that. We didn't even get into that.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Almost do 2 more podcasts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the iRide supplements is just iRide_supplements on Instagram. Same thing with Facebook, iRide supplements, fit4moto's on Facebook. We have YouTube channels. We do videos, we do fitness videos, nutrition, we do all kinds of stuff. So there's lots of stuff out there.
Absolutely. This has been fun. Okay, everybody, make sure you follow Mitch and check out his products because it's definitely worth a look, and then reach out to him.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Not a problem, man. Well, we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
See ya.